growing up. So you were born into the organization. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel like you grew up in a loving environment?
I felt that there was definite times of love. I felt a lot of guilt and stress and fear as well. Um, I think that whether my family was in the religion or not, I would have felt levels of those same things because my mother was a very traumatized person and never really dealt with that. So while there were happy times, there were also very stressful times. And sorry.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
She was very traumatized as a child. She had a lot of physical abuse. She had a lot of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and she never dealt with it. So raising me, I was responsible for her emotions. I was responsible. I had to, watch her and, okay, is she in a good mood today or is she in a bad mood today? And that's how I have to behave because she really took a lot of that out on me. I'm a lot like her and my personality, not exactly like her, but a lot like her in our personality. So we clashed a lot and she would take things out on me. So the religion, while it did add some strictness to it, no sex before marriage and no drugs and no, dating until you're ready to get married. Those kinds of things, I definitely would have had some of the same traumas that I'm dealing with had there not been. The religion, the way I kind of look at it is the religion she has very low self-value and self-worth. The religion says if you do A, B, and C, then you're a good person and you get a gold star and God loves you. And she needed that to feel good about herself. So she was able to function the best that a person might function. She didn't do drugs. She tried to control her drinking. There's a lot of things that she didn't do.
Because of the organization.
Bad things, exactly.
Okay.
So,
how were the expectations at home?
The expectations were you do what I say, and you don't, you speak respectfully, you do what I say, you don't talk back, you don't question. There was definite, we got grounded, we got spanked, that I always joke about the orange Hot Wheel tracks, sound of them whipping through the air.
Oh, yeah.
Spanking your bare butt, that feels real good. We'd go to, meeting and there would be the wooden spoon in her book bag.
Yeah, the wooden spoon.
Remember the wooden spoon?
I did it on my kids. Feel guilty for that.
Yeah, and then if we talked during the meeting, I do remember this, we would get down below, on your lap, so nobody else could really see, but one finger held up. And if she got to 3, you got to go to the bathroom and get spanked with that wooden spoon. So we did not want her to get past 1.
Yeah, just, so do you think that you could be yourself at home?
I definitely could not be myself. 100%.
Why is that? How?
Because I had to always filter who I was acting as, who I was being, what I was showing through what's acceptable to my family, what's acceptable to this religion. Am I going to get in trouble for that? Is someone going to be offended by that? For example, just even the color of my nail polish. I loved all the bright, fun colors. And
you have to make sure not to stumble anybody.
Right, and I was a pioneer for a year after high school, because that's what you do. And I had blue nail polish on, and this, elder's wife was in my car group, and she said to me, oh my goodness, she was so offended by my nails. And I asked her in that moment, I said, why is pink or red okay. Jehovah's okay with pink or red. Why is blue and green bad?
What did she say?
Like, I don't. She didn't really have anything to say. She just said it was too much and too flashy, and I
Too worldly?
Yeah, too worldly. And so I always hide my fingernails when I was around her because, she's gonna scold me for that. So, I always wanted to dye my hair fun colors. I did that for the first time when I was 42 years old. Because you don't do that. You don't dye your hair pink or blue or, you have to be. So everything I really wanted to do or thought looked cool or exciting or experiment, I had to kind of filter through these lenses of what's acceptable. Can I express that? Is that going to get me in trouble?
Your childhood, you couldn't do your hair, you couldn't do your nails. What are some other things that you felt that you missed out on as a child?
I missed out on. So when you're a kid and you're in the religion, you are fed this kind of line of, my parents definitely fed us this, and I don't know if everybody does, where, well, we don't celebrate Christmas, we don't celebrate birthdays, we don't do these other things, but we
make up for it all year long.
Yeah, exactly. We get presents for other things, and we get made to feel special other ways. And so I would always just say, I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like I'm missing out. And now that I was born in until I was 41 years old, I look back and go, yes, I missed trick or treating. I missed out on learning who I was and really like going to college. And because I was a smart kid, I was a really good student. And just I watch my stepdaughter now in college, figuring herself out. She has a boyfriend. She's learning who she is. I'm so like envious, and I don't want to do that now because I'm good with where I am, and I'm going forward. But man, it would be so cool to go back in time and be able to just
be yourself,
learn about myself, and know who I was, and have that freedom to just experience life and have not constant fear of what my parents are going to think about what I'm doing. I see her with her dad, my husband, and he's so proud of her, and she's just being herself, and he's proud of her anyway, and he loves her anyway, and he doesn't judge her for it. And I feel like I missed out on that and just learning who I am. And I also got married to my first husband at 19 years old. He wasn't in the religion. I snuck out. I left my parents a note on the porch because he was, he was a good man, but, he wasn't the one for me. And he was the first one that showed me affection and love, and he got me out of my house. He got me out of this situation that I was very unhappy in. And, you can't have sex before marriage, so, well, let's go get married at 19 years old and 22 years old. So
what happened to
you? I missed out on dating. I missed out on just knowing other people and knowing what I like and don't like. I do see all of these things that I definitely missed out.
Yeah, it's like, it's true, because children and the organization really have to stifle their personalities to appease everybody, because you can't stumble anybody, like you said. You have to act a certain way. You have to be a certain way. So I never really understood what being authentic meant until now. Because I always thought, I'm authentic, I'm me, I can be me. But you really can't, because you constantly have the worry of how it's going to affect somebody else.
Exactly.
Exactly. Do you feel that you suffered growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Or do you feel it protected you?
I feel like in some ways it protected me, because, now I'm 40-something-year-old woman thinking, I've never experimented with drugs. Like, that would be interesting. I want to try, drugs. I want to try, like, things and, like, those are normally things that you do when you're a teenager and you're stupid and you do these things. So yeah, it protected me from those kinds of things, like, you know, having multiple partners. Maybe something would have happened. Who knows? But I just forgot what you were saying.
Do you feel that you missed out on more than you were protected from?
Yes, I do feel like I missed out on more than I was protected from, and I feel that you can't protect people from being people. What are you protecting people from? You're protecting us from learning and experiencing and making mistakes and coming back from them. And like, we're just being human. You are judged for being human. Humans are interested in the opposite. Well, whoever. Humans are interested in sex and love and having a partner, intimate relationship. And when you're not married, you are judged for feeling those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a crush on someone and have it just be a crush. You can't flirt with someone and have it just be flirting. You're just constantly aware of how it's going to be perceived by somebody, and if you're going to get in trouble for it, and if you should admit it at all to anybody, or if you should just stuff it down and act like it's not there.
Yeah, pretend like the normal feeling isn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go on to that, let's talk about baptism. Going from childhood into baptism. How old were you? Did you feel pressured to get baptized?
I definitely, there was pressure definitely to get baptized. I was 15 years old when I got baptized.
Okay.
And that was late. I was old.
Almost able to drive.
Yeah. And
Hold on to that thought. The reason I say that is because
I saw that.
Okay. Yeah.
I saw that. Don't let them.
Yeah. Why would let them drive if they haven't been baptized yet?
Exactly.
But they don't baptize children.
No, and we don't force people.
And we don't force people. Yeah. Yeah. That's no bribery there. So, who did you feel pressured by?
I felt pressured by everybody. I felt pressured by the congregation. I felt pressured by my parents. I was nervous to get baptized, just probably like everybody is, because once you do, they can disfellowship you if you mess up. And that's what you think about, what is on your mind. And then you hear all the talks, well, not deciding is the same as deciding. You're if you don't decide, then you're going toward the world. You're not going toward Jehovah. So, there's that, and you just, what you do is the next step. And what if you don't? What's the option? If you don't, then you lose everybody you care about, and you're going to die at Armageddon. That's not an option. I can't let my family down. I can't let my congregation down. I watched a lot of friends fall away growing up. A lot of my brother's friends fell away growing up. And I didn't want to do that to my family. I didn't want them to have to not talk to me anymore. And so, yeah, I did feel
lots of pressure to get baptized. So when you did get baptized, did you feel that you were dedicating your life to Jehovah? Did you feel like you were doing it to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, to be part of the What was one of the reasons that motivated you, besides the peer pressure? How did you feel when you got baptized?
I have a really funny story about my baptism.
Sure.
And I never told anybody in the religion because I was embarrassed. But sitting there at my baptism talk, they were talking about, I'd gone through the questions. My baptism was basically the next step in my life. Like, it was just the next step. It really didn't feel like deep.
It's something you were going to do. You knew you were going to do it.
Expected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I did the questions. I answered them all correctly. I got to the place, sitting there for the talk. And he said, during the talk, he said something about, you have all dedicated in prayer, dedicated yourself to Jehovah. And I sat there and went, I didn't. Like, I didn't have to. Are
you serious?
And I, sitting there listening to the baptism talk, I quickly said, dedicating myself to Jehovah because I didn't know.
So that you can get dunked. You did the inward dedication really, really quickly so that you can do the outward dedication.
Yeah. I was really like, oh no,
you got to do this first.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how emotional it was for me. It was just, the next step, made my family proud. And
did you feel like you had a personal relationship with Jehovah?
I felt like I could see Jehovah's hand in the congregation. I did feel like, they talk about unity. Oh, we are unified. Well, it wasn't until leaving that I realized, oh, we're unified because we expel anyone who isn't unified. I mean, that's why there's unity. So I just, that's, and we're love. We don't fight in wars.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we're out in service, I felt that the Holy Spirit was helping me. Angels were helping me. I felt like they were helping me, like, reach people's hearts and stuff. So I did feel pieces of that. I did think I saw, like, Jehovah's hand guiding us to certain doors because that person needs that.
Well, it's what most people feel like that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you get disfellowship?
I did not get disfellowship. I'm surprised by that. I kind of how everything started was I got divorced. There wasn't, there had been cheating in the marriage, but it wasn't right then, so I didn't have scriptural grounds for divorce. And my parents were unhappy with that, but I promised, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get baptized. I'm gonna get baptized. Talk to the elders. Make everything right with
clean slate.
So, yeah. And so then, as time went on, and my parents started shunning me, even though I wasn't disfellowshipped, that really hit me in a bad way. I just was thinking, wow, you, instead of looking for ways to still communicate with me because I'm your daughter and you love me, you're going to jump the gun and I'm not disfellowshipped, but you're going to shun me now before you even have to. That just rubbed me really wrong, and it really felt. And in my mind, if my parents were ever disfellowshipped, I really knew in my heart that I would never shun them. I've shunned a lot of people, and I have some things to say about, one specific family member who was. But I shunned a lot of people, but I just never felt I could shun my parents, and them so easily, it seemed, shunning me before they even had to was kind of part of my waking up, and it kind of led me to researching things and kind of opening that door. And,
So it was basically because of the way they treated you, even though you were not disfellowshipped. Is that what started your waking up process?
Yes, that was one of the very first things that pushed me to say, okay, I'm going to do things that maybe the religion wouldn't be happy with. So they started shunning me. Then my grandfather passed away shortly before COVID kind of started in 2020, early 2020. And I went to his funeral, and my cousin, who was disfellowshipped, was like, she'd been disfellowshipped since she was 17 years old. And she actually was disfellowshipped after her mother had ended her life. She's 17, and she slept with her boyfriend because she was distraught because her mom died, and she did it. She took her own life, and she was obviously upset. So she was disfellowshipped, 17 years old, and she lost her entire family. She lost her support system, everybody, and her mom. So that disfellowshipping was one that I did not agree with, but I followed when I was young. But I saw her at my grandfather's funeral, and something in me had to go up to her and hug her and tell her I loved her. I hadn't talked to her in around 20, I think it's been about 20 years since I had seen her at that point. And I hugged her and I told her I loved her and I told her I was so sorry, and we cried and we hugged. I didn't care. I was in a Kingdom Hall and my parents saw me do it and everybody saw me do it, and I did not care. And she later told me that that was one of the most healing things that she'd ever experienced, was somebody in her family acknowledging how terrible that was to do to somebody.
After 20 years.
Yeah. And so, man, I've done some apologies. I've done some crying. There's been some serious regret over that, and she's never even expressed a reason to forgive me. She doesn't think we'll need forgiveness, but I just wish I could undo that, because that felt really wrong, and I wish I had not.
But you were doing what you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the indoctrination. That's the Talking about your cousin, you said that she's the one, when she got disfellowshipped, was it, that caused you to start having some kind of cognitive dissonance? Is that true?
Oh yeah, that was the only time that I could put my finger on. Well, that was the first time that I can really put my finger on feeling that this is wrong. This is not something that Jesus would do. You know, we preach about doing what Jesus would do. Jesus wouldn't do this to somebody. Jesus would be compassionate. Jesus would look at her and say, she's hurting and she's lost so much, and let's wrap her in our arms, but we're going to push her out and leave her alone. It just felt wrong, and I'm sick about it, and it never felt right about it. I stayed on Facebook. I stayed following her. I just hid my friends list. People couldn't see them. And I told her she couldn't comment on my stuff, but I just wanted to know that she was okay. She was my baby. Like, when I was 8, I want to say she was born when I was 8. So I would carry her around. She was my baby. And I was really close to her. So that really I was not okay with that. And I didn't know how to process that.
Process the showing love by not showing any love at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was definitely one.
Why is it, do you think, that even though you had that cognitive dissonance going on, that you didn't wake up at the time?
Because I was afraid. I was afraid to die. I just had thoughts that Armageddon was going to come, and Jehovah was going to know what was in my heart, and he was going to judge me, and I was going to die at Armageddon. And there were times that I wished I would actually die before Armageddon, so I could just be resurrected and not worry about it.
I've heard that before, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I was afraid of dying. I was afraid of disappointing people. And who am I to question these things? Like, these are the things that so many people believe and follow and do. Like, I'm just one person. Who am I to say that this isn't what we're supposed to do?
Did you feel that the governing body were these holy men that you had to listen to?
Back then, the governing body was just a faceless, nameless entity. It wasn't like it is now. It was just where the rules came from. So I didn't really even think about the governing body. They were just these holy people that
you didn't know who they really were, did you, at the time?
No, I didn't know any of them. So they gave us our spiritual food at the proper time, and I didn't ever really even think of it. They were just mythical creatures. Like,
Yeah, nothing like they are now. Nothing like they are now. Okay, so 20 years later, you've had this cognitive dissonance, you've seen things. What exactly was it that made you start to wake up?
So I had the experience with my cousin, and then I reached out to a friend that I had some suspicions that they were kind of not really in it fully, which surprised me because this person was just, you know, on this pedestal for me in the religion and just such a spiritual person. And then I was like, whoa, is this questioning things? And so I reached out to her and I asked her privately and I said, I saw this post and it made me wonder, like, what's going on? And she told me that she swore me to secrecy, and she told me that she was having questions and having doubts. And I was like, whoa, if this person can have doubts, then maybe I can have doubts too. So I let myself explore. And came across a video of the Australian Royal Commission of Jeffrey Jackson. And I was working from home at the time, and I played that whole 3.5 hour, I think it is, video, and I could not believe things that I was hearing a governing body member saying, lying under oath. I couldn't believe it. And it just was like, it floored me. It floored me. I did not know that existed. I did not know anything like that existed. And so I just couldn't get enough. I could not get enough of just finding out things that were not true. I think for me, it had to be that. It had to be a governing body member saying bold-faced lies on a video right before my eyes for me to be able to start waking up.
It wasn't just the video, it was the Australian Royal Commission.
Yeah.
A video on that.
Right. It was the actual Royal Commission. If it was just somebody talking about it, or if it was any of these other, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses channels where they're trying to, wake people up and spread the information, I would not have listened because I still had that. Apostates are bad. Don't listen. They're just lying about Jehovah. I still had that in my brain, even though I was starting to question. I wouldn't listen to that. But seeing him say these things that I knew were lies really was what I needed to see.
A governing body member saying it. You're not seeing somebody else say it. Yeah. You're actually seeing a governing body say something like that.
Yeah.
So you're waking up. You saw the Australian Royal Commission with Jeffrey Jackson. What did it do to you?
It unleashed emotions that I did not know how to deal with, how to name, how to even feel. I describe it, I've been in therapy for 1.5 years or so now, dealing with this and working through it. I describe it as just this thought bubble in my mind, and that all my emotions are in it, and it was chaos. It was just confusion and chaos and overwhelmed, and I didn't know how to take one thing out and deal with it because it was everything that I knew and believed was slipping away, and I didn't know what I believed about anything anymore. If these things weren't true, then what else isn't true? And what do I even believe? And I didn't know how to think for myself. I didn't know how to decide things for myself as far as my belief system. It was just like drowning in these feelings and fears and guilt and emotion and anger, lots of anger.
Yeah.
Which I'm coming down from, so that feels good. At the beginning, there was a lot of anger and resentment and feelings of I've missed a lot over lies. I was always to my stomach. I drank Pepto-Bismol like it was going out of style. Just sick to my stomach. I had anxiety attacks. So anytime I would do something quote unquote pagan for the first time, especially, some point during it or after it, I would panic. I would feel my heart start to race, my hands shake, shortness of breath, sobbing, shaking, panic. And at first I didn't know what was happening to me. I just thought like I was going crazy. And then I realized my body still feels like this is wrong. Like all of my, everything in me says, this is bad, this is wrong. Because that's what I've been taught my whole life. And now I'm doing this thing that's bad and wrong. But it's not. In my brain, I'm telling myself, no, this is your choice. It's okay. You're a grown up and you can do it. But everything else in me said, panic, you're going to die. You're going to die. And this is wrong. And man, it took a while to, every new thing though, every single new thing, celebrating Christmas for the first time, putting up a Christmas tree, any of those things. I just now have sang happy birthday out loud all the way through, I think 3 times now. I've been to a lot of birthdays at this point, but it felt wrong to even sing happy birthday song.
Well, yeah, you've been so against it your entire life, and now all of a sudden you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and just having my birthday celebrated and feeling really weird and anxious about that, and like wanting but feeling bad about it. It's just, there was a lot of
I want to get back to that, but I do want to bring something out that's really important that I think we all need to remember. That feeling that you had of guilt, or you're not supposed to do something, and it was just really, really strong inside of you. Well, that's how PMEs are. Witnesses that are still in the organization, when they look at somebody that doesn't believe anymore, doesn't think like them, they just have that deep indoctrination that apostate wall goes up.
Yeah.
And it's just good to remember that thinking, because it's so easy to forget it and blame them. Because it's not their fault. It's the indoctrination's fault. It's the organization's indoctrination. And that's what I keep wanting to emphasize, because the indoctrination actually makes you go against natural human tendencies, natural human feelings, natural human emotions. So
yeah, I have no issues with the individual Jehovah's Witnesses. I know that they think that they are doing what's right. It's definitely harder when it's someone really close to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
To recognize that. But they think they're being loving, and they think they're saving you or trying to save you. Yeah.
When you were waking up and you were going through all of this, did you feel that you could talk to anybody that really understood what you were going through?
Yes, I had a handful of people that used to be in the religion, or grew up around the religion, or grew up in it and then left as soon as they could, who I've reached out to in my moments of drowning, in my moments of I don't think I can do this, dark pain, just these lights. Sorry, I'm getting a little...
Okay, no, that's okay.
These bright, shining lights that guided me when I couldn't see, that held my hand and told me, you are strong enough, you can do this, and you are valuable. Oh, I remember one person told me this. He said, you are valuable because you were born, not because God saved you. Because you're alive, you have value and you have worth. So just learning to believe that I was valuable in my own right, and I didn't need to be part of this religion or to be important and to have worth, was huge. And you really can't understand it unless you've been there. Just the all-encompassing effect that it has on your life. You are told what to think about literally everything, from what movie to watch and songs to listen to where to live and what you're going to do on the weekends. And
Who you're going to
Everything.
marry, how you're going to get married, everything. Yeah.
So having somebody that understands that to that level, that can understand where you're coming from in that way, oh my goodness, I couldn't have done it without. I understand why people who don't have that go back. I get it. And I had moments where I thought, would it be easier if I just went back? But I couldn't live a lie. I couldn't do what I needed to do because, man, I was really liking who I was becoming and really enjoying learning about myself. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put on that show and I couldn't fake it and do what I needed to do to go back if I had been able. I do understand why people do it because it was dark for a while. It was really dark for a while.
Yeah. What did you feel when you came out of the organization?
I didn't know what I believed anymore. I didn't know if I believed in the Bible still. I didn't know if I believed in God still. I didn't know if I felt the sense of spirituality, but I didn't know how to process it. And I'm so used to being so certain what's going to happen when we die and what our hope for the future is and all these things that not knowing felt like I needed to know. I need to figure it out. I need to figure it out now because what do I believe? And at this point where I am right now, I don't need to know. I don't know what's real and what's not, but that's okay. I don't believe in if that's how the God of the Bible God is, like the Bible describes, then I don't think I want. I don't.
Do you still pray at all?
No.
No.
But what I've been trying to do lately, because I went through a lot of, so I've asked everybody who will listen, everyone who'll talk to me, what they believe. Everybody. I'm like, if we get into a good conversation, not just passersby, but if we get into a good conversation, I'll say, what do you believe? Do you believe in God? Because I want to know what everyone believes, but I'm very hesitant to believe any of myself. Because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going to be gullible and I'm going to fall for things. But I do feel a sense of something bigger. And I feel that being in nature and being outside and looking at the sky and breathing in the fresh air and listening to the birds is so spiritual to me. And I'm kind of leaning toward just embracing that and just, I don't know what's going to happen. I asked my husband one time because right after I started leaving, a really good friend of mine passed away. And I was really distraught because I didn't know what I thought happened because she died, and I don't know what happened to her. I don't know if she's in God's memory.
We're taught something so specific. That's what we absolutely know, and then you're like, well, what do we know?
Yeah, so I asked my husband, what do you believe? Like, I was just crying, and I was sad. I didn't know. He just made a lot of sense to me, and I really appreciated it. He said, I don't know what happens after, but what I do know is, our bodies, you can make us up with things, with elements, right? You can make our bodies, but you can't give life. Our life, our spirit, whatever that is something outside of us. It's not just, a little bit of water, a little bit of, iron, a little bit of, these elements, and we've got a person, and we're going to be like, that spirit, that thing that makes us alive, and makes animals alive, powerful. And when you die, does that just disappear? It doesn't seem like it would. I don't know. I don't know what happens to it, but I'm not pretending to know anymore. And that's okay.
Is it okay? I was going to ask, is that okay with you?
Yeah, it wasn't for a while, but it is now. I am okay with that. And just knowing that I think there's something bigger, and I'll find out when I get there. And I'm just going to live the best life I can, being the best person I can be. When you're in a religion that tells you be good or else you're going to die, does that really make you a good person?
Why are you doing
a good person? Because you're doing what's good because it's the right thing to do. So I don't know. That's kind of where my path is going now, is just finding ways to make my part of the world a little bit better because I'm in it, and just accepting that I don't know everything. And it's okay.
How about your values? We're supposed to, when you're in the organization as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're supposed to have these strict moral standards, strict values. Have they just gone away, or what about that right now?
My values are you. So in the religion, you are, if you're gay, that's wrong. If you're, transsexual, that's wrong. All of these things are frowned upon and looked down on. And I am so glad that I am finally free to embrace people. Like, I always hid my friends that were gay on my Facebook page because I'm not supposed to be friends with them. But my values are, if you're not hurting anyone, then you then whose right is it to tell you you're doing something wrong? If you are doing what brings you joy, and you're bringing joy to others, then that, I don't know. We can't say that those things are wrong. I'm just living in a way where I'm not hurting anybody, and if anything, I want to bring positivity to people. I try really hard when I think of something positive about somebody, even if it's a stranger walking by and I see them and I think, pretty smile they have, or I love their shoes. I will tell them, I love your shoes, or you have a beautiful smile, or, whatever. Or people I work with, I thank them randomly when it pops into my head. Thank you for being awesome to work with. I love coming to work because you're here. And I think if we do more of that, then man, we're going to live in a better place. If everybody is just trying to bring some positivity to the people around them, it's going to make life a lot better.
Basically, what you're telling me is your values are you want to be a good person. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's not going to hurt anybody else, it's not illegal, it's none of that, then why is it bad? Is it
Yeah.
better to do something good because that's what you really want to do, or because if you don't do it, you're going to lose your everlasting life? You
Right.
have to.
I think also, kind of just as an illustration to that, I think about, how, someone who's promiscuous, they're looked down upon, they sleep around or whatever. But maybe they are the kindest, most loving person in the world. And then you've got this Christian who believes, you get married, that's when you have sex, the traditional family values. But they're terrible to people. These holier than thou Christians who are following these strict rules are judgmental and hateful and can
Spiteful.
hurt people. Yeah, and we're not here to judge each other. We're here to support each other and take care of each other. So I don't know. I think my what I value in a person has changed so much. It's really just what kind of light and positivity that they bring to the table, and that's what I
Appreciate that. I like that answer, actually. Speaking of